So I was asked by some guys to speak about testing OSGi with OSGi-Test. So this topic for today is testing OSGi with OSGi-Test. A short story about me. My name is Stefan Bischoff. In my work life, I'm working as a solution architect for Managed Now, former Fujitsu Service Europe, and do there some data and analytics within data analytics platform. In my hobby life and as an individual, I have the pleasure to work a lot in the context of the Eclipse Foundation, having data analysis services project on the Eclipse and working on the specification project and also on the technology project. But today I want to speak about testing OSGi with OSGi-Test. There are a lot of frameworks around. They might be interesting for your use case. Sling has something, Pax has something, Peter has something that also is quite interesting, the Launchpad. Today I'm just talking about OSGi-Test, currently the OSGi technology project. That is not more but not less than a JUnit extension and an assertj extension. That just helps you to do some assertions on your services and your bundles, or helps you with installing services and bundles. What OSGi-Test is not, but what we would need is, you need a workspace. Keep up what you have. You can use the BND style, the Gradle, a Maven, even with Tycho. Ask Christoph, he knows more about this. This demo is with a Maven workspace, but to set up workspace, that's your job. And what we are also not doing is launching the framework where the tests are running. That's also not the job. You can use it with the BND run. That works pretty fine. You can do it with the Maven plugins. You can use the Felix. Do they have something? You can use Felix file installer and run their tests. You could use the feature launcher. That's up to you. We don't care. In this demo, it's the BND testing Maven plugin we are using. In most cases for the XML, it's just about having defining what BND run file you have to resolve and to run, that you don't want to resolve it before the run, that it should include dependency management and what kind of dependencies you want to have to the resolve time. But in your workspace, it could be in absolutely other way. And what we also aren't we aren't the person who launches the tests. So there is from BND the test launcher that made it great. It launches all the tests in a way that we don't have to care. We take this. There's this little BND instruction that helps the framework launcher to know that it should launch the tests. And we don't create bundles for you. You have to create your own bundles and your test bundles. And for the test bundles, it's important, since we use the BND test launcher. This one looks into the bundle and looks up the manifest, and there's a test cases. You can see here header, and there are defined all tests. You could write manually in, or you just use this pretty short instruction. Or if you do it with Maven, you have some options you can see below to say, I want to have just JUnit 3 or JUnit 4 or JUnit 5 test or test and G-test, or I want to have all tests executed. So in the end, you need your definition of the runtime you want to run the tests in. You need the bundle that executes the test, that contains all the tests, and there must be described the test that should be executed, and then someone launches the framework, the tester picks it up, executes the tests, One little thing, if you want to do plain unit tests in your framework, it might be that OSGi say, no, you don't export it, you will not be able. Then it could be one case to say the bundle that is holding the test is a fragment of the original bundle. Then you would be able to have access to the class path and test also the not exported parts of the bundle. One option. Okay, but let's go to the part that are more interesting, but maybe you will never be able to execute when you did not have the... yes. Okay, so the most important tool is BND here for me. On the right click, I have an BND run file where it's described what I want to have in my test setup. So basically, the test artifact of this test, and then I heard this magic button. I hit this button, and then at the end, I come up with this little setup of bundle that I need to execute it. To run all this, you have to go to run as BND OSGi tests. And what it then is doing, it runs all tests. Some are failing because of the internet connection, but that does not harm. One interesting part I want to show you before we dive into OSGi-Test at the end, if you manipulate your run framework setup with this little two checks, then the tests are running, but the framework is not shutting down, so you're able to just write more things into your tests, save, and BND will see, okay, there's a bundle changed. I uninstall the bundle, install the bundle, start the bundle, execute the tests again, and so you have a live system where you can run all your tests and see. That could help if you would like to do it more test-driven setup. Okay, then let's go through some of the features. So what basically OSGi-Test is, I showed it with JUnit 5, it also exists for JUnit 4, is an extension. So it basically is not more but not less like the extends with bundle context extension. So we have a bundle context extension that helps you to get access to the bundle context. To get the bundle context, you just have this injection annotation. You could put it in there. Then the newer versions of JUnit 5 in this include bundle context. We could place this extends with here, so it's at the end not necessary to have this extension at the top level of your class. Just say I want to inject the bundle context, and then you have access to the bundle context. This is not the real bundle context of your runtime. It's a wrapper of the decorator. It's wrap the bundle context into a closable bundle context, so that we could stack, so that we could track the changes on the bundle context. So if you register a service with bundle context register service or bundle context install bundle, then we know what you have done. And at the end of the life cycle of the test, we can say maybe we should uninstall it, so that you don't have to prepare a lot of things at the end of all your tests to uninstall what you have done. So you end up with a clean setup on each test. Let's look on.
Unless they use a framework bundle context.
It wraps around it. It's just a reflection.
Yeah, but if you get the bundle context from the framework, then you can install stuff, and then you probably don't clean it up.
Yeah, if you go over framework utils and get the bundle context from there, then you would get the original one. But over the annotations, you just get the closable. Yeah, you can break everything if you want. That's the greater freedom you have. So the bundle context could be injected in fields or in parameters of methods as you want. If you then work with the bundle context and we need it for the TCKs, if you then want to do some assertions on the bundle context, we now have a bundle context assertion with a classic assert that bundle context has bundle with ID 0. This is in most cases there. Okay, it does not have a negative. But you can check the properties of the bundle context. Look there. If you need some assertions on the bundle context,
Why do you have the comment at the end of the line there?
because the formatter hated me, and after the third try, I did a comment there, and then it does not wrap it up again. Don't ignore all comment there. They are just because the normal setup I had did not work as usual, and that's why. Though it's better readable. You don't have the comments for OSGi test. That's just if you have to make it more clean for me. Another tool we have related on bundles is the bundle installer. The bundle installer helps us to get access to bundles and install them. So the bundle installer has an install bundle method, or that is plain. So it starts a bundle. This is a part. This is a path that is related to, how many minutes do we have? That is related to inside the test bundle. If you want to really have fun with BND, there is the option to have a definition of bundles you want to have that looks somewhere in a test folder, grabs everything together, and when you then define in your BND instruction this little thing, then on the build time it creates sub bundles and places the bundles into the bundle you are creating, and then you easily could install this bundle at runtime, so you can test the behavior of bundles at runtime. If you make TCK, then this behavior is often pretty helpful. Make is, if you have understood it, that it's great. Could be that you need more than 10 minutes. 15, maybe.
Come on. It was developed explicitly for this
Yeah.
at the OSGi test cases. We had
Yeah,
hundreds of little bundles.
It's great. If you know, you just have to know that it's there. Okay. We also could use embedded bundles, because sometimes it's not in your bundle, but it's in other jar. So you could say it's in this jar at this path. So you could define the way to another jar in your runtime, or you make it this way, that you type it explicitly, that you have a bundle symbolic name and a version where you know there is a jar inside, and then the path of it, or the same with more optional things. So, but at the end, you just could also say there's an URI to Maven Central, why ever should do this, and install this bundle over the URI and start it. I would not recommend to do this way, but it's possible. Then we have, on the bundle level, two assertions, OSGi extensions. The one is for bundle events. So if you have a bundle event and register it on the bundle context, and then install a bundle, maybe wait, but must not wait. Then you have the two things. You have the bundle, and you could put it in the bundle assert and assert all methods of the bundle. So is this bundle is installed? And the same with the bundle events. So have your bundle event assert and look on the current state. Be careful with this bundle event assert. If you grab the event, do a lot of tests, and then check maybe in the midwhile it's not even more install, it's started. So you get the bundle and you have to check it pretty near to the event, because the event of get status will change at runtime. Next level is that's a kind of funny, because when I prepared this, I was surprised about this, and then I discovered that I developed it and fully forgot it. In JUnit, we have parameterized tests. So, and parameterized tests need a bundle source. The overall goal of this is that you have in your JUnit the opportunity to write one test, like, do all my bundles have a license file in it? And then check it against all bundles. And then JUnit would be so kind and execute this test against all the bundles that are defined in the bundle source. You could filter a bit. There's, for example, a header filter where you can focus on just that bundle where I'm the vendor, then this must be in, or just on the active or on the reserved bundles, or on all, and look that there's no bundle that is not active or not resolved. So just to secure that, the same behavior is on all of the bundles. Let's go to the funny parts. Services. With services, we have the same like for bundles. We have the opportunity to inject services, though if there is a service, it's the testing opposite of add reference. You can put add inject service, and at start at the test time, it will inject the service here, so that you can assert on that. You could also do it in the method. You can do it with service itself, or lists of services, or a service aware that then gives you access to things like get service, or get service reference, or get service type, or wait for services. If you configure something later, that if it's later coming up, that you can check later, but you have a reference where you can later ask for a service. And you can look for changes that happened on the service over the tracking count. So a little example how to do it with service references. I think we can go over this at the moment. There's also something like you can get an any service. If you want to have all services but not by a specific interface, then that would be the case to get the service injected. And you can do this also with multiple services, so just declare multiple parameters that all have the inject service way. This is how you can get services. There's also a service assertion. Is it services? Yeah, where you could look on the service listeners and have a service registration assert and a service event assert when you can look up if you have a service registration or a service reference or a service event in the hand and want to check something on that you can do it more descriptive with pre-prepared method of assert J. The life cycle. So what we are doing is we track what you inject into the framework and clean it up after the test. So if you do something in before all, it will end after all. If you do something in before each, then it will be there in the test and in the after each. This also works with nested classes, so that you always have a good chance that we clean up everything behind you. You don't have to write cleanups and tests. Then
But you keep the framework running.
we keep the framework running. The framework is once started, and we execute all tests, and we expect that we are so good in cleaning up that there's no need for a restart. If you need it hardly to restart and install bundles, then maybe Pax is an option, but maybe you have problems with your code. So the framework is so hardened that it should not have a problem with a lot of installs and uninstalls of services.
Yeah, the only time I can think where you would actually want to shut down the framework is if you effectively want to do your tests with two completely different resolutions, and then you have two BND runs and you run them as two separate blocks of tests. But
yeah,
if it's one BND run, it's all your tests.
The same we had with the bundle source and parameterized tests is also capable with services. So you have a service source where you can filter on service types or filter, and then you get all the services, and then you can run the same tests against this. So if you want to have a proper service property where the service vendor is you and this is defined, and you forgot it once, then you could have a test that checks this, or what else you want to do with the same kind of services. You could look up all JUnit service and install it once and look if it's there. That would be also an option. And here you can get that what you get injected is the service or a service reference, or if you just want to check the property, then you can get injected the dictionary, or for the guys who hate dictionaries, he's not here, yeah, maps.
And no interface? Annotation interface?
Not at the moment, but that would be so converter, or that's, yeah, that would be easy doable. Okay, then let's go through configurations. So on the level of you work with the component model with declarative services and config admin. There would be the old way that you may use the inject config admin and then do something with create configuration that and update and then delete. That would be a way, but it would be a hard way for cleaning it up. What we prepared is some extra annotations for you where I could put on the method, on the field, or on the class, like an run this test with a configuration, where you can put in the PID, and then you can say, I want to get injected this configuration, and you have the configuration in the hand. You could also do it together, so here's all the option to
In inject configuration, is it? It would be in with configuration.
no. In inject configuration is, as far as I remember, is the option to put in with configuration. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why the code completion does not do it, but in the inject configuration you could put the with configuration in it, so it would inject the configuration you directly configures, So then you could use this to update your config, and in the end, we are able to clean up your configuration. There's, in the with configurations, also the opportunity to provide properties. Also more that you can say it's a scalar and what type do I really want to have, is it a byte or the int. And we prepare this configuration, inject it into config admin. So on the injection, you can get the configuration. You can get the dictionary or the map. You can't get the moment in annotation interface. Surprising. Or an optional often configuration, because sometimes it's not there. Then, if you, same with factory configurations, and also with nested, we care that you can nest configurations and use this for testing. What is also possible to make it more flexible? We have in the properties section the opportunity to define not just fixed values, but you can also say I have a property with the name and the source of the value that we should inject is the value of a system property, and look up this, the name here, the name of this system property to inject this value. And then it would look up the system property and put it into the configuration. You could also have really fun and use a collection type with a lot of template arguments that are of different types, so that you could inject multiple different string in one string together. So at the end here, the clue is that we defined this system property string 1, 2, 3, and at the end we are getting out the byte array 1, 2, 3. If you really need it, in most test cases, not needed, but the same is with environment variables, so that you have access to them and use this in tests. I will go over this. All this will be in the OSGi test as a pull request. And you have access to the test class, test name, and test identifier. So that if you run all in parallel tests and need a discriminator for your server, that 10 tests that run in parallel know which injection should be done, then you could use the bundle ID as a discriminator that helps you to do this. The most pain point that you will have is if you do bigger tests. After this. Sure. The most pain point is that you could end up with this. Maybe then your test is a bit bad design, but if you test your full setup and if you want to have it, then you will have a lot of annotations. What we could do is we can shrink it down to something like this, where we have an other annotation, retention policy, runtime would help, and place annotation there, and we use this annotation, then it would be on this two configurations, and you also could stack it so that you have on your annotation at first this, then this extra last wins, deepest wins. But this could help you to say setup with A, setup with B, and setup has different options. So this helps you to clean it a bit more up, that you have not this big stack, but maybe just something like this.
At some point you should show the comparison between that big stack and how much it would be if you had to do it in code.
Yeah, if you do it in code,
It's like 400 or 500 lines of code.
yeah, absolutely. So
Insane.
this are, well, this is not everything that OSGi-Test has. So there's a bit more about logging and listeners. But for today, I think that's enough. The hardest thing is to have in your workspace a proper setup. So care about your setup, care about your bundles, care about your test bundle. And someone has to launch it. And if it's launched, someone has to execute the test. And if this all is done, then we are the JUnit test that helps you to clean, to have the clean tests.
These annotations are from the OSGi test project. Or
Yeah.
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 You showed inside the configuration chapter that you can use environment variables. How is that working? Because in Windows you are not able to change them.
No, we don't change it. We just so in system property, you can do this to make some magic in the before each, and put it. Yeah, just give me. There you can put it and define it, and then use it. So you can have steps for several tests, several opportunities to in the environment. It's just to take what is there. We are not able to say, I'm a test, I change a environment variable. That's not possible. That is just with system properties. So take what is there, and if it's good, use it. Any more questions on that? Yeah.
I'm not sure if you touched on it, but say I'm trying to verify that I'm doing some dynamism stuff right. Like
Some
dynamism, something that, for example, I have a bundle and I want to verify that when some service is registered, I'm registering some different services for reasons, whatever. Of course, the framework is not infinitely fast. Was there a utility for me to like wait until something happens?
So that was the service aware that you saw earlier. So you inject a service aware, you check at the start of which has a minimum cardinality of 0. You check at the start of the test, there is no service. You then register the service, and you then say wait for service along with a timeout, and it will return you the thing that you've registered as a result, or it will say you didn't register anything, boom.
Okay.
This one case, you also could use this here to track that this does not change in more than 1 second, for example. So there are options. You also could use simple service listeners and wait for something that's there. It's sometimes
Awaitility.
yeah. So awaitility is a topic that if someone has a great idea, so we have one issue that says awaitility would be good, so you don't have to open it. Just awaitility.
Awaitility.
Wait for a state. Wait for no change in the that there's no service event in 10 seconds, or that there are 10 service events in 10 seconds.
Async testing library.
Yeah, we all would be happy to have this. We have an issue. If you have ideas on that, post your ideas below that.
One question. You have a specific inject service, inject on context. Why not use inject?
Because that's not what JUnit does.
That's not what JUnit does?
No,
They know inject, yeah.
If we used inject, then it wouldn't be meta-annotated with our extension, so JUnit wouldn't process our extension, so it wouldn't be inject.
Yep.
This is the way JUnit does it, so it's
Yep.
what we do.
And maybe just one addendum to your question, so you can also at your inject service, you can give it a timeout. So if you have here's my configuration for the test with the configuration annotations, and you have something which takes like 10 seconds to register the service file and make it available in the end.
Also have the cardinality that you say 5. I need 5 of them.
within my test that verifies that this bundle installation happens, I would probably have to do it myself using bundle listeners or some kind of awaiting logic or
Yep.
library.
So I think they are the common ground where we all would say, I expect a bundle with a special a bundle event from a bundle, or expect no change. I think they are a common ground that we could define, but we don't know at the moment. Register bundle listeners or service listeners. If you really have hard cases where you have to check orders, and we are just provide the assertion that helps you to assert the events.
Okay, so what you're telling me is you want me to create a PR that specifies a
No,
descriptive API for that.
Not sure if that's what you wanted to say, but you understood it right.
So if you can come up with a nice API for something that will be generically useful, great. There's always the trade-off between how much do we make it possible to do natively in the API versus how much do we make you build on top, because it needs to be understandable. Like someone who looks at the API, if they see 500 methods, they're going to run away. And we want this to be something that people can use easily. So the advantages you'd already get would from inject bundle context. You register your listeners in the test. You don't need to worry about unregistering your listeners. You don't need to worry about what happens at the end of the test. You just stick your listener in there, which is going to put your events into a queue, and you wait on the queue as in your test. You do whatever you need to do, and then say within the next 5 seconds an event should appear in my blocking queue, and then you do your bundle context assertion, bundle event assertions,
Whatever you want.
and you can use bundle event assertions to get a really nice descriptive, like this should be a bundle event of type installed with a symbolic name that matches this
Yeah.
pattern, and whatever else you want to check.
But that would also be the argument for having it declarative, so that you don't have to check that you uninstalled your bundle listener or whatever you use.
No, we will uninstall your bundle listener.
The bundle listener uninstallation is just handled because you used
Yeah.
inject bundle context.
Exactly.
So the things that are there and may come in are from my side thing that I never committed for the features. I have feature assertions that might be useful. Maybe with feature launcher TCK, they also try to have some assertion there and some support there. Awaitability is a topic. When I can speak it out without a problem, then maybe I will do something. But if someone is interested, or if you're doing it at your company, so it's okay to contribute it.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's the general thing. We are all have our companies. We are all doing it, and in some cases we know that's good to do it together. And it's not just consuming. Sometimes it's also giving something. We would be nice to you. We will help you with things when we think that's not in the state to contribute it, and give you guidance. So if you have something, come up with it. We handle it smart. Last question.
Yeah, thank you. Is there an easy way to inject mock services? Like I want to run a bundle within OSGi-Test, and it depends on some kind of service implementation to.
Yeah.
Just
Use
register before all
yeah.
your mock.
Use Mockito.
Yeah.
Use Mockito to mock an interface. Have an interface class. Mock it with Mockito. Register bundle context. Register service with a property. Done. So we would not go in the area that we are better than Mockito. We would not go in the area to be better than a search. So that's why we're using this. And
But the really good thing is that you register it at the point that makes sense. So if you register it in your test, it will get cleaned up after your test finishes, but before any of the after each. If you register it in before each, it will get cleaned up after each. If you register it before all, it'll hang around until after all. Yeah, it's properly bracketed the life cycle. So wherever you register it, it's available for the tests you expect to be able to see it.
Makes sense.
We work really hard on getting that life cycle right, particularly for configurations. So even when you saw Stefan was injecting the configuration and making changes to the configuration, we'll actually record the state of the config at the start of the test. So if it was registered in before all, and you make changes to it in one of your tests, at the end of the test, we will undo those changes for you, and it will go back to how it was. So you really don't have to worry about cleanup unless you, if you deliberately, shake it so hard that it falls to pieces, fine. But for almost anything, any normal usage, you just, you do what you want in your test, and you don't clean it up. The number of try-finallys I was able to remove when I switched to this stuff. Like, my test classes went from like 1,000 lines to a couple of hundred.
It's removing it.
It was just, you just delete so much stuff. It's wonderful.
Okay, that was all I had to show. Thank you for this.